Hello, everybody. As you can see, I am blessed with the last sun rays of the sun in Hamburg and with the presence of Grandmaster Larry Kaufman. Thank you so much for being here, Larry.
Well, my pleasure.
Um, for everybody who actually still doesn't know who you are, but I believe everybody should know who you are because you're watching this video after all. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, well, I'm rather an unusual case in the chess world, I guess. I became a grandmaster only at the age of 60, because, which is almost unheard of. I think there's one or two others in the world that did the same thing that I did, which is to win the world senior without having previously become a grandmaster. And at the time I did it, you had to be 60. Now they changed it to 50, but Uh, so I did the first year I was eligible. I flew out to Germany, which is where it was held, at Wiesbaden, and well, I went there with the hope of trying to win it and become a GM, even though I was only seeded number 17, and I ended up tied for second with Mihail Suba, and there was a disputed tiebreak. There was a question of which tiebreak rules would apply because there's a question of whether FIDE rules or posted rules would apply to somebody who wasn't careful about checking the rules in advance. So
Hmm.
it ended up being disputed, and at the time of the event, they awarded me the championship, but they later made it a joint championship because one set of rules said that I won and the other set said that he won. So but it didn't matter
Fair
really.
enough.
So we both got the title. I mean, he was already a grandmaster, so it didn't matter for him, but
Yeah.
for me it did.
But what a
So that's how I got
triumph.
the title. But my career in life, I wasn't really always a chess pro. I had another career in the stock option field for many years, and then I was primarily known in connection with chess software. My involvement with chess software dates back 54 years now, since 1967. I was a student at MIT, and they were developing the very first chess program to compete in a human tournament, which was called Machack.
Mhm.
And previous programs were very weak. There was nothing more than 12 or 1300 level before that, but this was the strongest at the time, and it played in tournaments and got a rating of something like 1530 or 1540. Uh, and I was working on it for my last year or year and a half at MIT.
Mhm.
My main tasks were writing the opening book for it and playing games with it to try to suggest improvements. But at the time, in order to have an interesting game with it, I had to give it queen odds. That was the level, and it was the best in the world. So things have changed a little bit in the last 54 years.
Wow. Can I,
So
sorry
then,
to ask you, how old are you right now?
now I'm 73 now.
73. Unbelievable. So, yes, so this triumph of reaching the Grandmaster title at the age of over 60 is, yeah, as you said, it's almost unheard of. Um, I wanted to know when you were playing the championship, were you working hard to play as good as possible, and were you really right fighting to get into, yeah, becoming first place, or was it almost more of a coincidence or emotion which kept on going, and then you felt like, wow, this is actually possible since you were seated 17th place?
Well, I did go to the tournament with the intention of seriously competing for first place. I did
Wow.
prepare a lot, and I did everything I could to maximize my chances,
Mhm.
legally, of course. I made sure that I was in good physical condition. I went swimming every day while I was there. I brought a very good computer and prepared carefully. I did everything right, but still, I knew it was a long shot. I knew. I mean, I felt that my chances were better than the number 17 seed would indicate, but I still knew it wasn't like something I'd want to bet on.
Amazing. Now, for everybody at home, uh, if you ever have the feeling, well, I'm 20, I'm 30, I won't become a grandmaster. Where's your excuse now? No, okay. Jokes aside. Now the thing is, besides being a grandmaster at chess, you're not only terrific at chess, you also a really good shogi player, and there are even more board games which you reached a certain amount of excellence in. Where's this fascination for those board games coming from?
Well, I got into mostly in the 1970s. I picked up Go as a game because
Hmm.
at one point I ran a chess club in Washington D.C. in the 70s, and the Go club asked to join us and to meet with us. So I learned Go there. And then I learned much more about it from a chess playing friend who was a better Go player, and he taught me. So I got into that, but I didn't reach a high level in Go. I mean, I would say in chess terms, I was only like not more than 2,000 ELO. But in in Shogi, I got to be almost as good as I did in chess. Not quite, uh,
Wow.
but but much better in the relative sense because nobody in the West was any good at shogi back in those days. So from about 1980 to about 2000, I was generally considered to be the top Western player of shogi.
Wow. So now, okay. So you were from the 80s to the 2000s, and you're, I mean, you're still also playing shogi and chess. Like this, in my imagination, this must be so difficult to do both and be such yeah, have such an expertise in both of it, because they differ a bit from their style of playing. So even if you have different chess variants, like let's say Bug House or something similar, then and you tend to play this a lot and get very good at it, you lose a little bit of an ability to still have this excellence in chess. Was this more helpful for you to have both, or did you have to concentrate more to not confuse both board games with each other?
Well, that's a good question. In my case, it's kind of clear what happened. I I totally quit playing chess in the year 1976 because I wanted to focus on my career, and I was too much. You know, I couldn't do chess halfway. I mean, I knew if I was going to be successful in my options career, I just had to give up chess. So during that period, which lasted 3 years, I did learn shogi during that time, and I figured that was okay because I couldn't be, I couldn't spend too much time on it. I only had one opponent who even knew how to play, so there was no internet, uh, so I learned shogi and played with the guy who taught me,
Mhm.
um, for about 3 years, and during that time I got to be a decent player, not a strong player, but maybe I got to be I don't know 1800 level or something like that at that point. Basically, all just by playing him. He wasn't that good a player, but shogi lends itself more than chess to handicap play. So what happened with him was at first he was giving me a handicap,
Mhm.
but after a little while I started beating him even, and then I started giving him a handicap. And for like a year, we just played where I was basically giving him rook odds, or even a little more than that. And I was still able to improve by doing that because it's not like in chess where it's a totally different game when you take off a rook. In shogi, it still feels like you're playing shogi.
Sure. Oh wow.
So anyway, so that's how I got to be reasonably good in shogi in the beginning. And after that 3 years was up, I decided to come back to chess because my career had finally was stable enough that I could resume chess. So I did. And at first, when I started to play chess again, I could barely play. I mean, I remember I played the first game I played after not having even looked at chess for 3 years. I was living in Florida, and I saw two old guys playing chess at the swimming pool. And when the game was over, I agreed to play one of them. Of course, they didn't know who I was, and I just figured he was some random guy at the pool. And the guy beat me. And I later found out he was actually an expert, so it wasn't so ridiculous. But still, it was a bit of a surprise. But I had so I had to get back acclimated to playing chess again. So I started to play a little bit. And then I hired Grandmaster Leonid Shamkovich to train me for 1 week just to get me back up to speed on what openings were being played and everything. And at the end of the training, we played a 4-game rapid match, and I actually drew the match with him, which I thought was a surprise because I'd never made even an IM norm before that point. So I was a pretty good master. I was like 2,300 or something, but anyway, that was a surprise. So then I decided to actually try to become an IM, and I went off to New York first for an open. Well, it was open, but for people with high rating. I think they call it a futurity tournament, designed to give people a shot at norms. I played in that tournament, and I believe I came in third place, and that was half point over the IM norms. I got my first norm that way. I beat 2 grandmasters. I'd never beaten a grandmaster in my life before that. I beat 2 of them.
Must have felt good.
And this is basically from 3 years of playing shogi.
Huh.
So the answer to your question is it clearly helped me. I mean, because I was clearly playing at a higher level in chess than I ever had.
This is super interesting.
And then just a few weeks later, I was invited to play in a 15 master round robin in New York, and there I took second place with a huge score. It should have been normally it would have been a first place score, but I scored 11 out of 14, and it was only second place. It was a strong tournament, and it was 2 points over the IM norm.
Huh.
So that was already sufficient for me to get the IM title. But then a couple of weeks later, I flew out to Lone Pine, and I made yet another IM norm with a point to spare there. So I got the IM title instantly.
In no time,
with no problem with several extra points. So. I mean, the consequence of having learned shogi was that it improved my chess dramatically.
That is actually really interesting. I didn't expect that. And it also seems that every master you had on the way, you were you were training with, you became the master in no time. You gave them pawns and drew with them and stuff. Now, talking about the chess engine career, which was over 50 years ago. When did you get interested into chess engines? What was your point of sensation to dig into the world of the chess engines? Because it was, when you say 50 years ago, so it was in this, with the very beginning, almost 70s, 80s, 70s?
60s.
60s?
1960s, yeah.
So how did you discover that niche?
Well, while I was a student at MIT, I was already getting to be known as a chess player. I won the American Open Championship in 1966, and they just happened to be developing this Machack chess program there, and I'd always thought it would be really amazing if a chess computer could ever play well enough to even be interesting. I mean, I didn't dream they'd ever be, master level, but I thought at least it'd be cool if they could be good enough to, like maybe win with give a good game with rook odds or something. But
Hmm.
uh, so I was interested in the concept, and I heard that they were developing what appeared to be the best program in the world there, and they wanted a chess master's help, and I was a student there, so it was a perfect fit, and so that's how I got started in it. So I did that until I graduated. But back then, working on computer chess didn't mean working on a PC. It meant working on a like $1 million computer, a special device. So I had no way to be involved anymore after I graduated.
Sure.
So I didn't have anything to do with it for a few years. Then in the mid '70s, the first uh, commercial micro came out by Fidelity,
Hmm.
and the very first one, I went to this. I heard it was out. I went to the store and got it, and it was just unbelievably bad. I mean, not just a little bit bad. I mean, I honestly don't think that there's any human being capable of reading the
Using.
directions and operating it who wouldn't beat it. I mean, if you couldn't beat it, you could. It means you couldn't understand how to use it. I think so. So anyway, I returned it. Of course, it was even it couldn't even win with like queen and two rooks on it. It was so bad.
Oh
But
no. Oh.
but that didn't last too long. They got better very quickly,
Mm.
and I got a little bit more interested when they got to the level that where they started having ratings like 1800 or something. That wasn't a total joke anymore.
Hmm.
I remember I got the Constellation from Novag, and it was about rook odds level with me, which is at least good enough to not be boring.
Yeah.
And then the Super Constellation came out. I remember, which got a U.S. rating of over 2018,
That was called after the airplane.
I think.
Wow.
I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. That was in the mid '80s,
Hmm.
maybe '84, and that was good enough to give me a battle at night odds. They were getting better. They were getting better. That's I think the U.S. ratings were rather inflated then. Maybe still are, but that's more like at best it would have been 1900 feet, maybe lower, but still wasn't that bad.
Mm. Mm.
And then my business, we closed my business at the end of 1985. Um, but basically, I retired from option trading at that point.
Oh, okay.
And I had enough income that I could do whatever I wanted pretty much. I mean, I wasn't a Bill Gates or anything, but I had
Okay.
enough that I didn't need to be particularly concerned about how much money I made. Yeah. I mean, I
That
still
must
wanted to
feel good.
earn. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do something where I could still make money, but it wasn't a priority anymore.
Sure.
So I got involved again in computer chess. So I took a little job as the editor of a magazine called Computer Chess Reports,
Hmm.
put out by a company called ICD, that was a retailer of dedicated chess computers. And so I got really into it there. They sent me every model, and I was testing every one and reviewing them and everything. So I really got involved. And then I also got into the PC part of chess, which was somewhat separate from the dedicated machines. Now, in the '80s, the dedicated machines were much better than the PC programs. That changed in the '90s, but in the '80s, the PCs were very slow, and you really needed a dedicated machine to play decently.
Huge in size, I believe, too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some of them. But so I got involved with the PC chess thing because I learned about a chess programmer named Don Daly who had
Mhm.
written an amateur program, which was, I mean, it wasn't one of the best in the world, but it was a decent program for the time. And it was kind of unusual because he did it without much qualification. I mean, he didn't even have a high school diploma. He just learned programming on his own, and he did this, and I got put in touch with him, and we became partners in the chess software business. And our program, or the original ones called Rex Chess, and then we had some other ones. There was one called Socrates, and one that became the eventually became marketed under the name of Kasparov's Gambit. So those were all our programs, and we never they were never the strongest in the world, you know, in terms of like being able to beat Fritz or whatever was the best one at the time, but they did seem to generally get the best results in competition with human grandmasters. They organized a tournament called the Harvard Cup every year from something like 1990 to 93 or 4, which was rapid chess. I think it was 25 minutes per side, where all the best programs played against a team of the American grandmaster. They weren't, you know, they weren't the very, very best, but they were pretty good grandmasters. You know, I remember it was sometimes there was Shabalov and Joel Benjamin. I don't remember all. Patrick Wolf, I think, was one. Anyway, they were, you know, they were pretty decent grandmasters.
Definitely, yeah.
And in general, the grandmasters won more than the computers, but it was reasonably competitive. It was like, you know, maybe the computers scored 35 or 40%, something like that. But our programs usually had the best results, and that was primarily because I had gotten convinced Don to program our programs to seek open positions. Which is not helpful if you're playing another computer that's good at that, but when you're playing people, that's very good.
Oh,
So that was our
interesting.
secret. You know,
That
I
is a
guess.
secret, yes.
Well,
Wow.
it's not a secret
Not
now,
anymore, yeah, but
but that was why we were so successful. Uh,
interesting. Okay.
so did that for a few years. Then Don got a job. It was kind of funny. He, I think it was in 1994. He gave a speech at MIT, you know, about computer chess, and they were so impressed that they offered him a job being in charge of their computer department there, and they didn't know that he didn't even have a high school diploma. They never do that.
Ah,
They didn't. I guess they never asked him. They just assumed he was like a college graduate. You know,
fair enough. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, but why would you ever even think of it if you have made like a chess program or something like this? I believe, but yeah,
No, not just
impressive.
HS program. I mean, he
Yeah,
had a big reputation as one of the leading programmers, and he gave a great speech there, and I
yeah,
mean, he's very impressive. You know,
yeah, yeah. I
so
guess,
they
yeah,
wouldn't even question
I guess you don't have to question that at that point. Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So you had
So,
this. Oh, sorry, sorry. Keep on, please.
well, I just can say, so at that point, I got out of computer chess again
Huh.
and got back into it again in the year 2000, and the end of 2006 with Rybka.
And you still stay strong till now because yeah, Komodo Dragon 2. Now, yeah, you by the way, you fulfilled this little dream you had back in the 60s that it would be amazing if chess computers could compete with humans. Well, I believe you've overreached your goal by by now, which is yeah. This probably this idea of predicting also helped you with the stock market and with all the games you were becoming so good at. Now, just like a quick question, I always wanted to know who came up with the name Komodo. Did you have any?
I did. I
Yeah,
did.
can you tell us
Yeah,
how?
because well, there are several reasons for it. I mean, it's based off of course, the Komodo lizard, or
Sure.
Komodo dragon, whatever you I don't know what you call it in Germany, but
Something
so
different again. It's but it is it has different meanings. Komodo lizard, Komodo dragon. I think in German it's Varan. It sounds like a car, actually, but
hmm.
yeah.
Well, okay. So my reasons were that uh, in English it's Komodo Dragon. So and dragon is, first of all, it's fierce, so it suggests a fierce program.
Oh yeah.
Second of all, the Dragon Sicilian is considered an aggressive opening, so that suggests that.
Mhm.
And there's yet another reason, which is that in my other main game, Shogi, the strongest piece is called the dragon.
Huh. Okay.
So I had like three reasons for it.
Yeah, and you didn't use the direct path, but the one which is combined with that. So yeah, very clever, very good. Um, Now you said this is also one of my last questions because you basically told the whole story, which was super entertaining and interesting about how you came into all of this. But you mentioned that or the dragon is considered being a human-like chess engine. How did you manage to implement this very fun characteristic of this engine?
Well, okay, there's a couple of points here. First of all, before last year, when it was still just Komodo, uh, it was a little bit more human than other engines, primarily because I I program I got our, I don't actually write the code myself, but I got my partner Mark Leffler,
Sure.
he took over when Don Daly died in
Oh.
2014, I believe, or 2013, maybe the end of 2013.
Hmm.
Yeah, he died of cancer and
Hmm.
very young. So anyway, Mark Leffler took over, uh,
Hmm.
and anyway, so I got, well, originally Don and later Mark to basically try to put in chess principles as much as I could.
Yeah.
I mean, other software uses the same idea. They put in things like rooks and open files and so forth, but most of them don't have a very strong player deeply involved with programming, so they probably don't know as many chess principles. I mean, I think we had a lot of chess principles in Komodo that weren't in Stockfish. Maybe eventually they found out about them and put them in, but for a long time, I think we had a lot of chess principles that Stockfish seemed to be unaware of.
Hmm.
So that made it play a little bit more human. And then in last year, this big breakthrough NNUE technology came
Hmm.
out, which caused both Stockfish and Komodo to make a huge leap forward.
Hmm.
And that was based on neural networks. But in our case, we have the extra advantage that Komodo Dragon learned from games of Komodo. So it was learning from something that already was somewhat human-like.
Hmm.
And by learning from those games, that makes it play more human-like because it learns patterns. It learns that in similar positions, this is what you do. So that's the way humans think. We don't just sit down and calculate variations from scratch all the time. We know that in similar positions, knight to f5 is usually good, so we look at knight f5.
Hmm.
So that so that's what NNUE does. So that made a huge advance further. Now the third step is that Komodo has a particular mode called MCTS, which is even more human-like
Hmm.
because MCTS stands for Monte Carlo tree search. And that's an approach that is used by LC0 and is used by Alpha 0. But it's not used by Stockfish or standard engines, not even by Komodo Dragon itself.
Hmm.
And Monte Carlo tree search, what it's basically doing is it's being you could say it's being humble.
Uh-huh.
A regular chess program said, I know what's best. Whatever I whatever move I think is the best move is what my opponent is going to play. I can predict what he's going to play because he's going to be just like me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're MCTS is a little more modest and saying, well, we don't really know what the other guy's going to play. We know he's not likely to just give his queen away. He's going to play something sensible, but we have to allow for some range of reasonable moves that he might play.
Mm-hmm.
So that MCTS is more probabilistic in that sense. It doesn't assume that we always know what the opponent will do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more realistic in predicting what a human will do. And
nice.
I believe the evidence is pretty strong that this is true because we play a lot of these handicap matches with grandmasters, mm-hmm. and we pretty consistently get better results when we use the Monte Carlo than when we don't. Even though if we play against other engines, we get better results if we don't use the Monte Carlo. Mm. And that makes sense because the Monte Carlo is better simulating the way humans are.
Oh. A top engine, like it is a top engine in the world, which is still different in its nuances with its human-like characteristics. That's awesome. Larry, I really enjoyed this interview so much, and I hope you guys at home had the same pleasure. And thanks once again for your time here, and yes, I wish you all the best for the future, and I hope we can hear and see a lot of your future projects soon. Thanks a lot, Larry.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.